Hi, everybody, and thanks. Hi, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another Together Tuesday. This is part of our Parklife series and currently called Parklife at Home, while we are streaming from our homes and doing our best to survive lockdown. Before I introduce our guest for today, I would just like to take a moment and acknowledge the lands in which I'm on today, the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to anyone tuning in who might be from the Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander community, and do pay my respects to First Nations Australians. This land is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. So today for our Together Tuesday, I'm joined by Cal, who is one of our Parklife facilitators. Cal's an absolute legend. So before we get chatting, I'm really excited. It feels just like hanging out. So Cal, you're very easy to talk to and get along to. So I'm really excited that we get to share that with a larger audience today. Cal has been involved in some of our Proud to Play participant pathways, and now has signed up to be a facilitator and is just, yeah, such a lovely human. So I do hope that anyone listening gets to come along and hang out with you as a facilitator for the program. Thanks for joining us today, Cal. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm going pretty good. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready to be out of lockdown, but yeah, not too bad.
Yeah,
So
same.
yeah. So Cal, tell me a little bit about sort of your first connection to sport, like as a kid, and was it like a good experience? Was it bad experience? Like where did you sort of, I guess, start your sporty journey to where you are now?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my name's Cal. My pronouns are he, him. And I guess for me it started when I was about 10. When I was around 10, I think I really wanted to play soccer. And I think that that was the first time that I'd ever really been interested in sport. Before that, it was just like something that we played in school, but I was never really that interested. I grew up with brothers that played cricket and everything like that, but I was just never really interested. But when I was about 10, I just got really interested in soccer, and it was something that I really wanted to play. But then uh, it kind of became a thing of I didn't really know where to play. Um, so I am trans, and at that time, like I didn't really understand myself the way that I was feeling, and all I knew is that I wanted to play soccer, but I didn't want to be seen as a girl playing in like a boys' team. So in my area, that's basically all I knew of was like boys' teams where some like girls could play in. But for me, I knew that there was like I didn't have the words to explain it, but like I didn't want to be seen or known as like the girl that was playing the boys' team. Obviously, you know, some of the most incredible female athletes in the world grew up playing in boys' teams, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Uh, but for me, like, I just didn't feel like that's what I wanted to be known or seen as. But again, I didn't really have the knowledge or the terms to understand that. And for quite a few years, really, like my mom used to keep trying to encourage me to play in sports teams and things like that, but I didn't want to, and I just didn't feel comfortable. But I didn't, yeah. It wasn't until quite a few years later that I really had like the words and the knowledge to be able to understand why that was. So yeah, it was quite hard for me growing up. Like I feel like from 10 onwards, really, I actually started to hate sport in a way. Like I didn't like participating in sport, and I didn't really want to be involved in it. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but just because I didn't like the way that it made me feel, being like around other people playing sport. Yeah, so that's kind of where it started for me. Obviously, then going into high school, um, again, I just didn't like sport. Like I hated my body, and I just didn't really like being involved in certain things like that. Yeah, it really. I was probably about 18 when I actually started liking sport again. Um, I think around that time I started testosterone, and I actually found proud to play. So that's kind of where it all started changing for me a bit. But yeah, it was really rough at the beginning for me. So
yeah, thanks so much for
yeah.
thanks so much for sharing. It it's such a hard time, I think, to feel a sense of belonging. And when we're in that sort of like prepubescent age where we're finding out what we're like, we're formulating our personality, and it sounds like you're like, cool, I'm into sport, but then not seeing any perhaps representation of what that means for me and how do I fit in, and but how do I also belong, and how do I even describe what I'm feeling when there's no one else who's doing this or saying this? Or I imagine it would have been a very isolating time for you, and perhaps difficult to put into words what you actually want. And it sounds like such a common story that we hear, because then people come away with this formulation that, well, I'm not sporty and sport's bad, and it's not a place to celebrate my body, and it's not a place where I see people like me, and it's not a place I can actually be my authentic self. So that would have been a really difficult experience. What inspired you to get back into sport and give sport a go again? What sort of changed when you were 18?
I think because I'd actually been volunteering at the time with quite a few different queer organizations, and through that, I think I found myself. And at the end of the day, I started to love myself and realized that, you know, growing up, I spent so much time worrying about other people and how other people saw me that I hadn't really thought about like me and how I saw myself. And I think, you know, it took a long time, but I started really trying to reflect on who I was and who I wanted to be and what mattered to me. And I feel like I missed out on a lot of time being able to play sport. You know, I wanted to play sport, but I just didn't really feel like I belonged. Um, yeah, but then I feel like when I got to 18, like it was kind of like I didn't really know how to start playing sport either. Like all of a sudden, like if I wanted to go and join a team, like I didn't have the skills or anything like that to actually be able to play. But I still wanted to give it a go because it's fun at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out, Cal, for you to love yourself at 18, you're a far more evolved human than most of us. Uh, Far out. You must have done the work and you must have put a lot of energy into yourself. How important was it to volunteer and to find community within queer organizations? This is something that comes up a lot for me, and I'm really curious about what was that connection
Yeah,
like?
it was. I mean, it was so important for me. Like, um, growing up, like I live out in the city of Casey, so um, there wasn't really that much around where I live that I couldn't really. I didn't really know many people within the community at all. There was only like a few people that eventually, like when I was like in year 12,
Yeah.
that I started to like know. But for me, like I had to find ways to reach out and find people in the community. And for me, a lot of the time that meant I had to travel into the city to go to events that I wanted to go to and meet other young people. Um, but it was so important because, you know, I basically grew up feeling very much alone and very much isolated out where I live. So yeah, like obviously community is important. You know, you don't feel so alone, and you know the way that you've been feeling like your whole life, it's not just your story. Like other people have potentially experienced that as well. So yeah, community is always important.
Yeah, I think there's a tiny lag, so apologies if we talk over each other, but we're just going to roll with it because it's lockdown number 700. I love what you said, Kyle, around and I think I experienced this too. It's sort of like this moment of mutual understanding of the unsaid. And I think queer community and queer joy in particular, which I'm really interested in, and I think this program embodies really nicely, is that ability to meet someone and to just feel kind of comfortable and to just sort of get each other and be able to just, you know, hang out, and it doesn't need to be said. And if it wants to be said, it can be, and we can talk about, oh yeah, I felt like that too, or I'm sure there's lots of ways to connect with, you know, gender diverse folks and sexually diverse folks. And I think it's important that we kind of acknowledge the variance that is within the rainbow community. It's not just we're all the same. There's lots of variance within that community. And I'm curious, I think there might be people listening that are like, wow, that's pretty brave, like growing up in a southeastern part of Victoria that's not particularly known for having a lot of LGBTIQ community who we might see in more like metro or closer to the city. What helped you, or what would you say to someone who's maybe in that position and they're thinking like, oh, maybe I will go to something a bit queer, but I'm a bit nervous. Like, how did you get over the edge of actually doing it?
I mean, I'm very much someone that is very nervous when I went to new things. It sometimes takes me a lot to actually. I'm very much someone that you'll see hanging around the corner for a while until I get get the courage to actually go up.
You're a lurker,
Um,
Cal.
yeah, like I mean, yeah, I'm a bit of a chicken, but you know, at the end of the day, it's you know, I feel like for me actually, it was a lot about I'd never really known other queer people, so like going to these events, I'm like, I don't know what to expect from these people. Like so often, like at like especially like years, like you know, 6 years ago, whatever it was when I first started going to events and stuff, like the media portrayal of queer people was nothing like I'd ever expected. So I wasn't sure what to expect, and I was, you know, obviously very nervous and very afraid. But you know, at the end of the day, like I've made so many amazing friends and had such amazing experiences because I did take those very, very, very baby steps. And I do make my way over to those groups of people and events and stuff like that. But, you've got to find that, 1 minute of just bravery and just make those few steps and just give it a go, because, sometimes things don't work out, but other times, they'll be the best times of your life, and you're never going to find out if, you just don't have that 1 minute to actually go and see what it's like. So, yeah.
Carl, I'm going to adopt this theory. I love it a lot. And I think I can be brave for 1 minute. So I was brave this morning when I got up. And even though it was slightly raining, I went for a walk. Possibly not the same sort of bravery that we're talking about, but habits form in small moments of saying yes. So I love that theory. And for anyone listening who's in a similar position, please reach out and send us a message online. And I know we're trying to sort of build up our volunteer sort of crew at the moment, and knowing perhaps that Cal might be going to an event, or that someone else might be going from your area, I think is really special. Let's talk about Parklife for a moment. We're setting up a social sport program. Hopefully we'll be back up and running really soon. Can you tell people a little bit about like what it's about, and also how important it is that there's something like this in the southeastern suburbs of we're doing it in a Cardinia site?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Parklife is it's so important. As soon as I saw Cardinia, it was I was signing up straight away. Because I've wanted so many times for programs and events to be out this way. I was actually involved in the Proud Cricket program that Proud to Play ran in collaboration with Cricket Victoria, and I know then, I was traveling into the city to like Ewart Parkville to play cricket, which is like, a good 50 minutes drive. Which I know at the time I was like, can we like bring this out like my way? Like so
just one time.
just one time it'll be good. So yeah, I'm so glad that Cardinia was a site that was chosen, because like I said, we really don't have all that much out here, and like also awesome social programs and stuff like that are hardly ever brought out this way. So yeah, but so I'm facilitating the Parklife program at Cardinia, and it's just soccer drills, cricket drills. I have so much equipment that's just overflowing my car. So I'm excited to hopefully be able to actually run a session soon. So basically it's just going to be a few, skills, few drills, and then just playing a few like mini games of cricket and soccer, and just, having fun and enjoying time with other people within the community. And I'm so excited. Like I just want to hopefully start back again, because
it's been a long time coming, and I can attest to Cal having his car full of cricket and soccer gear. I think I dropped it off with a mask on and being very careful the day before this lockdown. So I do hope you've had an opportunity to maybe play in your backyard and have a bit of a hit, possibly with yourself, which is as much fun as doing it with others. So we're really excited that Cardinia Council is sort of supporting this site and have been really positive about making sort of steps towards promoting LGBTIQ plus inclusion in sport. And we know that when you can find community and when you can connect with others, that you're hopefully going to live a happier life, and one with a bit more purpose and a bit more social connectivity. And we all need that right now. We're all craving connection, and we're trying to replicate it through screens and all these other sort of ways, which is doing okay, but there's nothing quite like hanging out with someone, hanging out with a cool group and having a kick and a bit of a play. So stay tuned. We'll be releasing dates really soon. And also I just want to acknowledge that while this is a program set up by Proud to Play, we really welcome allies, and we want everyone to come along and to have a kick, and for it to be a bit of a family friendly sort of event. So we will be sorting out how that works with restrictions easing. So do stay tuned for this sort of program. Cal, next I wanted to touch on hearing your story about movement and sport, and I guess originally trying to fit in and then really coming to this beautiful realization of, oh, I can just be myself and I can belong in spaces that I choose to belong. I don't have to go anywhere else. Tell me a little bit about your studies and your career direction, and I guess what you're hoping to do in the industry for your job.
Yeah, so I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Business Sports Management. Again, like I just realized that, well, for quite a few years there, I was a bit lost on what I wanted to do. I really struggled. I feel like it was something that I never really thought much about. And then one day I was just kind of like, I really want to do something in the sporting industry. You know, for me, like I want to be able to, um, like there's still so much work to be done, not just in regards to like LGBTI plus inclusion, but you know, just so many other areas of inclusion. You know, the thing that still saddens me is that, you know, we still don't have that equal like level in regards to women's sport, let alone, you know, LGBTI plus inclusion in sport or anything like that. So there's still so much work to be done in the industry, and I just would really love to be a part of that in whatever capacity that kind of sees me in the future. I'm still kind of exploring that. But yeah, I just think it's an industry that still has so much room to grow, and it is getting better, but there's just still so much more to do. And yeah, I just really would love to be a part of that, and that's kind of where I see my future going. So yeah.
Fantastic. It's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's so great to know that someone like yourself is going to be part of that change and part of making sport more inclusive. And I guess I'm curious if you were a PE teacher at your school, or if you were a soccer teacher at your school, and you saw yourself, who was this kid who really wanted to play soccer, but maybe quite didn't have the right sort of team or couldn't find connection. What can we do? How can we help diversify sport? I know there's lots of conversations around more open gender and all gender and inclusive sporting programs. Would that support more, I guess, trans and gender diverse young people who are figuring themselves out? What do you think would help young people finding themselves as sporty people, but also gender diverse?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would have loved something like that. Like, I feel like there's not enough kind of like mixed sports teams or opportunities that are like all genders and stuff like that. And I think providing more opportunities for that's important. You know, like there's a lot of people within the community that, you know, would love to play on a boys team or would love to play on a girls team. And, you know, that's awesome. They should be allowed to play on whatever team they want to play on.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people in the community that don't really feel safe or comfortable playing in either, or they don't feel like they belong in either. And it's about trying to provide opportunities for everyone to be able to play for whichever team they want to play for. You know, it's hard, but you know, it's about trying to provide opportunities for everyone. And so if people don't all of a sudden not feel like they belong and all of a sudden feel like they hate sport, when that's not really the problem. It's just they don't feel like they belong. And yeah, I would love to see more opportunities. And also like I feel like especially opportunities where people can learn the skills and stuff if they haven't felt like they have been able to previously. You know, for me, a big thing for me is that, like I said, I was 18 and didn't have a clue how to play most sport. But one of the first things I got involved in was actually J-ball, which is Hockey Victoria's social version of hockey. And I absolutely loved it. Like I didn't have a clue really how to play hockey, but that's not really the point of it. The point of it is just to have fun and like you do learn some skills and stuff like that, but you just get to hang out with people, and I really enjoyed that. And I feel like there needs to be a lot more opportunities like that in sport. And um, yeah, I just love to see more sports actually do programs like that.
Yeah, I think I too would love to see more participation pathways, and whether it be social sport or just fun sport, or I think lawn bowls have done a really good job in that regard in terms of perhaps their branding over the last few years. You know, 10 years ago, it was just a sport that you would see traditionally older people playing. And now it's something that I can't wait to sort of go and have a lawn bowls, you know, session with some friends on an afternoon when, you know, restrictions allow. But I think you're right around the skill acquisition and kind of giving opportunities for people to learn how to do something in a fun and judgment-free zone. And I hear what you're saying, that it is a barrier. So if you find yourself as an older person compared to your peers who might have been playing sport and learning all this skill acquisition for the past 10 years, and you're like, I can't just go join a netball team, like I don't know how to do all those skills. You're right, it is important to have those just come and give stuff a go sort of sessions. I think we are seeing a lot more of that in sport. And I do think that, you know, through partnering with Football Victoria and Cricket Victoria, it feels really great that they're providing our volunteers with training, and we're really well connected with making sure that these sessions are fun. Because if we made everyone run laps and do sprints and do a test game of cricket, I think we wouldn't get many people coming back. So it's got to be fun. Otherwise, why are we doing it, right?
Yeah, I would have been out of there at the running lap spot.
The beep test with beep test. No beep tests allowed.
Oh, definitely not.
And before we wrap up, I do want to touch back. I think you just worded this so eloquently, is that some people just want to play in guys' teams, some people want to play in the women's team, and some people want a more all gender inclusive event. And I think that's really important. When we talk about LGBTIQ inclusion, or when we look at trans and gender diverse guidelines, we're not wanting to other everyone from the LGBTIQ community and put them in the rainbow group. We actually want, as you said, to provide everyone with the opportunities to do what they want to do. And that's part of, I guess, the work that we do around, you know, education with clubs. So if you're listening and your sporting club might need a bit of help in this direction, give us a call. It is important, and also under the Human Rights Act, that people can play in the sporting team that is aligned with their gender. And we feel very strongly about representation in this space. It was great to see Quinn, the Canadian soccer player, at the Olympics. They were the first trans non-binary person to win a medal in the Olympics, I believe. And I know Laurel Hubble, I'm sorry if I pronounced her name incorrectly, she also got a lot of excellent media around being one of the first trans weightlifters to compete. But I think Quinn got a medal. So both, you know, excellent achievements in their own. I mean, to go to the Olympics is pretty great. And this representation and this visibility, it matters, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, and I think we need to keep providing opportunities, like you say, not just for these lovely open gender events, but if someone comes along and they play cricket and they absolutely love it and they want to join their local club, we're here to sort of make that transition easier, because everyone has a different need when it comes to kind of hanging out and engaging in sport. So Carl, thank you so much for speaking with me today and sharing your story and your involvement in sport, and your involvement in, you know, Proud to Play. And it's really cool, and we're really grateful to not only have you as a participant traveling all around the world, but now I think it's fitting that you're a facilitator within your home kind of stomping ground. So thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks everyone for tuning in for today's Together Tuesday. Next week, we'll, I believe, have one more, and then we'll be hopefully resuming face-to-face sessions really soon. So do stay tuned or send us an email to jump on our mailing list and we'll update you with all the news. Thanks everyone.